Greetings, pod fans. The crab cycle states that there is only one step, and it is crab. But wake up, bestie, because a new sub-step dropped, and baby, it is Crab Champions. Because in this game, you get to be a crab with a motherfucking gun. Everyone talks about Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row being these power fantasy games, but they are nothing when compared to being a crab. A crab with a gun. A crab with a gun that can do flips. Let's dive into this thing the same way that all of evolution seems to be diving into the crab life. As I vaguely mentioned, at the core of this roguelike, you are playing as a crab with a gun, and you are fighting the crab's natural enemies. Other crabs, pufferfish, slugs, ants, floating skulls, and pumpkins. I haven't seen the episode of Planet Earth about crabs, but I assume David explains it all in there, about the skulls and the pumpkins and all of that. Your mission, as Crab with a Gun, is to fight your way across 30 islands with 3 different biomes and become a crab champion. Each island is either an arena where you kill everything, a horde where you need to survive for a certain amount of time as enemies constantly spawn, an elite, which is always island 10 and 20, a boss, which is island 30, a shop where you can buy things from a main man Tony, or the parkour levels, which are impossible. And anyone who chooses these and completes them is a hacker person, and I hate them. Once you clear an island, you're presented with at least one chest, and this is where strategy and building comes into it. Depending on what you pick from these, you can go sicko mode, or you can actually ruin everything. Like the time I had the perk that makes my shots deal more damage, but makes them heavier, which is totally fine. You get a bit of drop on the shots, but fuck it, we ball. And then I picked up the perk where my shots deal more damage, but start off slow out of the barrel and pick up speed over time. Basically, gravity brought them to the floor before they could get anywhere, and I was very lucky that it was early in the run, and I could get through it with grenades and melee. Oh yeah, did I mention that you have grenades and can hit with your crab claws? I probably glossed over that a little bit just because of this crab with a human gun. Each time you beat an elite, you get a key, and each time you beat a boss, you get 3 keys. In the lobby, you can trade in 3 keys to unlock new guns, and you can only do this once after each run. I assume this is a way to slow you down in the case where you have a ton of keys, buy everything at once, and then just don't realize that you got dual pistols John Woo style, and ignore it, because you got a rocket launcher and it go brrr. As you can probably tell, I have been really enjoying this game, so I'm going to go into some specifics now that aren't just me shouting crab with a human gun. First of all, the most important thing for me when it comes to these rogue similar games is the gameplay loop. As a genre, they are built around live, die, repeat, starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. And Crab Champions does this really well for me. It is fun to play, so even if I die unexpectedly, I'm happy to dive right back in and give it another shot. The movement is quite simple, with a dash you can do on the ground, a double jump to dodge or reposition in the air, and with certain weapons you can aim while in the air to enter bullet time. It's not trying to remake the wheel, and despite the multiple legs and round body, the controls feel very tight, and it comes together to make a really nice fast-paced shooter. I've talked a little bit about the perks and modifications already, which seem pretty expansive, and for the most part do a great job at explaining what they do. The only improvement I would like to see is a tracker on things like the assassination perk, to see how many times it has procced, so that if it is late in the game and I need to get rid of something, I can see if it's worth keeping. And also, my brain really likes when numbers go up. Originally, I thought that having specific numbers for your damage increase percentage, fire rate, movement speed, etc. when you pick these things up would be nice, but the more I've played, the more I've realized it would just overcomplicate things. If you really want to know how much of a difference a specific perk is making, there's a training dummy at the shop, so just check your damage by going pew 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 pew, drop the perk, and check damage again by going pew 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 pew, which is a wonderful feature because if you picked up the wrong thing and it's hindering you, there is always the option to just get rid of it and salvage that for coins. There are also 2 facts that I have stayed away from mentioning until now because I didn't want them to take away from the game itself. First of all, this game is in early access, and it is quite new, only coming out on the 1st of April, but it feels more complete than most early access games I've played. And oh boy, I've played my fair share. And in the 7 hours I've played, while recording the audio anyway, I haven't come across any real bugs, other than the ants, lamau, which is a lot more than I can say than, big company release days, the number of games that, like AAA games that I've paid for, and I get them and it's just bugs galore. It's like an insect colony. And the second thing I haven't mentioned is this is developed and published by Noise Storm Limited. That might not mean anything to you, but maybe you've heard of this. Yes, Noise Storm was the DJ that made Crab rave, and I'm super impressed that this game was not just released as a cash grab that barely works, and as of making this video, I have not heard that song in the game. So good job, Noise Storm. I understand that this has been a very positive review so far, and that is because, for what it is, I can't really find much wrong with it. If I had to nitpick, the islands can get a bit samey after a while, especially when most of Biome 3 is just Biome 1, but dark and lava rather than water. There isn't any story or cutscenes as of yet, and at certain points, like the shop, and when you clear a run, you're met with a stationary crab statue that, eventually I assume will be an NPC. But none of these are game-breaking, and none of them take much from the game. The core gameplay loop is solid, and that, for me, is what early access should be. Give me a game and polish it afterwards. I really hate it when early access is used as an excuse for games that do not work. Like, if it's not properly playable, it shouldn't be available for purchase. I get that studios need money to function, but if I'm being given something that eventually will work, why have I been allowed to buy that? If you were to look at my Steam library, there are so many games there that, I played a little bit of, huffed some copium, and then said, it'll be great once it's done, and it was just abandoned. Little rant there, but from what I can tell, this seems to be a pure passion project, and even if it stayed in its current state, I am very happy with the €10 I paid for it. So, after all of that, I am giving this game 7 crabs with human guns out of 10. It is a great game with a huge amount of potential, and I'm excited to see where it goes, but, as it's in development, I can't really give it higher than a 7. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought, and if you've played Crab Champions, just, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Because I'd like to hear from, not just myself. That is all for now. I will try and come back and review another game soon. Slán.